Good afternoon and welcome to the Happy Half Hour. I'm Leigh Kubin.
And I'm Sandra Priestley. Welcome to our podcast. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday.
Well, for this happy hour, I
Yes.
am having just plain old coffee with, this is my new favorite thing, coffee with protein, like a protein drink in it, vanilla.
Mm-hmm.
How awesome.
It feels
Smart.
it feels like a specialty drink that you would get at Starbucks or something.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
What are you drinking? And how have you been?
Great.
Water.
Cranberry raspberry water.
Yum.
Woohoo. But I was a guest on this podcast. It's called Leander's Scoop.
Oh, cool.
Super cute. And so this guy, you just go on, fill out the form, and then you go on and he interviews you. Really nice. But, when we start talking, it's okay, I've got this life coach, Leigh Kubin. And I'm like, oh, you don't really know what I do.
Right.
But I thought, I'm not just going to interrupt and tell him. Then he started asking how I got into it. So I really got to tell my story. And then he was like a little more intrigued, like,
Right.
what? But it was a great conversation. I cannot wait. It'll come out next week. I cannot wait to see it. But he was telling me about David Foster Walker and a speech he gave, like a college commencement speech. And the title of it is This is Water. And I read it, but I'm
Yeah, I
going
love the title.
to explain it like he explained it to me, because I like the way he explained it much better.
Okay.
There are two young fish swimming in the ocean, bebopping along. And this old fish comes by and said, how's the water today? And the fish go, what's the water? With the point being, there are so many things around us that are just there, that have always been there, that we don't see. And we don't know they're there. We don't understand because we are in the middle of it. And when we're in that space, we miss things. We don't see the big picture of it. How this old fish knew, maybe someone came and told him. But I guess we all have those moments where someone comes by and says, how's the water? And we're like, what the fuck are you talking about? And then we start investigating, well, what is water? And right. I know this one didn't resonate with you.
Well, I am like, you told me the story. I'm picturing the fish and I'm going, oh, yeah, good point. But then I'm trying to relate it to my life and I cannot. Like, I was really struggling with thinking how like, what is it that I get used to that I don't realize is important?
For me, the best thing I can equate is my inner being. That connection.
Okay. This isn't
and that
helping.
just popped in because it's always there. It has always been there. I have had this voice that still talks to me today that says, turn here, do this, go here. Since I was a little kid. And I remember hearing it loudly when those men pulled up in the van and wanted me to put their bike in the van. I heard, get on your bike and go. Do not look back, go. That was the same voice. But I wasn't taught about that because they didn't know about that. They hadn't been taught to understand it. They were taught to look outside. So that's
okay. Connect to this because I can connect to maybe not my inner being, but like my psychicness, my knowingness, especially just recently, like Cam has been saying to me, okay, so who's going to win? Oilers are going to win, or who's going to win? I think Panthers in 6. And I mean, it's just this like knowingness. And I always kind of knew it was there, but I didn't, no one told me there, you have an intuition or you have an intuitive gift, or we all have. So yeah, I guess I can see, or just, gifted with something that you just disregard.
Mhm.
I think even if I look back when my kids are in school and they would have something come so easily to them, but then sort of dismiss those gifts that everyone else wants
Yeah. Yeah.
and sort of dismiss them, but want like school to be really easy or whatever, right? We a lot of times dismiss the important things.
Because it's our gift,
It's
comes
yeah,
natural. So we think, I didn't work for this. I didn't struggle. So,
it's old programming, right?
mhm,
Initially, when you were telling me this story, I was thinking of clutter.
mm,
And I was thinking when
yeah.
we were talking about clutter, and you had said something about how when we're living in clutter, we don't realize that it's affecting us.
Mhm. We
And
tune it out.
we tune it out, but then we're also tuning out other things in our lives. So that was sort of, to me, I thought clutter, like,
Yeah. Same thing. I was hired by this couple years ago when I was doing feng shui, and they had me come to their home, and I walked in and I was like, holy mother of God. Now, these are multimillionaires. They're smart people. And I'm looking around going, where do I start? I worked with them for a year, and I'm going around their house with the dowsing rods, trying to figure out where I need to begin. And so I get to this wall that's all cabinets, like there are TVs in the middle, but all around are these cabinets. And the dowsing rods are telling me there is detrimental energy here in these cabinets. So I looked at the wife and I said, are you going to tell me what's in there? Or am I going to have to go through that whole thing piece by piece? And she looked at me with the most horrified look that I have ever seen. And her and her husband are looking at each other like, what are we supposed to do? She's gonna find it. It was their daughter, her ashes. She had a baby, a little girl, and she was born and she took a breath and she died. And then she proceeds to bring me into the kitchen and pulls out this box and shows me this picture of a baby when she was trying to get pregnant with this little girl. She, to set an intention to get pregnant, she cut out the face of this baby, but cut off like this part. And the baby was born without a brain, like that, that thing. And she said, I did this to her. This is my fault.
oh,
Waterworks were going, I mean, it was a moment because she was reliving it. They had her ashes. They had not even told their son he was little at the time. So I'm sure he saw her pregnant, but he was so little that
yeah.
they just never discussed it again. And they
Oh
had
my,
never done anything with her ashes because he wanted her buried and she wanted to scatter the ashes. And
wow.
it was a moment. But the beautiful thing is, we got that house cleared. They started working on the yard. Like it was a whole thing. And in the end, it took the whole year to figure it out. But they took her ashes and they buried half of them at this beautiful cemetery that we have here in Austin, in the hills, and scattered the other half there as well.
Oh,
So they
nice.
both got their wishes. They told their son, like they began to heal,
Right.
but they couldn't heal with it stuffed in the cabinet, hidden.
Wow.
Mhm. And they finally got to remember that baby and grieve her appropriately and celebrate her appropriately. But yeah,
Wow.
clutter's a big signal.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting as working with this woman. Again, same sort of similar situation, no death, but multi millions of dollars, beautiful, gorgeous home. She had sent me pictures of the outside of it and to begin with, and then the floor plan. I'd asked for that. We did a Zoom call where because she was from the US, she showed me the outside and then she said, I feel nervous about letting you into the house, but I need this. So she opens the door and we start to go through, and it's the same thing. One room, you couldn't go in there. Like it was just stuff full of stuff. And it was like a sitting room sort of office, right in the front, but it was stuff full of stuff. And I said, what was this room used for? And she said, well, I mean, my son plays his drums in here, but he hasn't played them for a long period of time because her son was diagnosed with a brain tumor. So I believe he's had two surgeries. Like he had the surgery to remove it the first time it came back, he had another surgery. And so we kind of went through, but you can see how the trauma ends up showing in your space.
Yeah.
The unhealed sort of, and her son, I can't remember, I think he's mid-20s now,
Mm-hmm.
but she said he's so afraid to die that he's not willing to live.
Oh,
And so we worked on him having a space, this beautiful space where he could go and feel comfortable and feel at home and be able to play his drums
because that will
without,
make him feel alive.
yes, yeah.
Wow.
But it's interesting because there's so much once you realize what your space has, like how your space has affected you. I think there's a period of time where all of us go through this feeling of like, why did I do this to myself, like, but shaming ourselves is never going to help matters. And we just,
Yeah.
what we needed or what we knew how to do, right? Like Maya Angelou, we did then what we knew how to do. And now that we know better, now
You
we
do
can do
better.
better.
Yeah.
Every single person that I've ever helped through that process of decluttering has uncovered this trauma, has uncovered or started to work through it,
Mhm.
and then fell to this, oh, this is my fault.
I did this. Yeah.
And so there's so much healing in that whole process.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I went in to a house one day and they called me in because the husband had been laid off, couldn't get a job. The wife's work wasn't going great. I mean, they weren't going to lose their house. It was not yet, but they were just like, we are stuck and we can't figure out what's going on. Will you come check it out? Girl, if I don't walk into their journey area, and it too is a sitting area, and it is wall to wall fish tanks, which not a bad thing, right? it's water and fish and life, except that they were all broken. They were all empty, except for one had some algae water in there.
Oh dear. Yeah.
It's like,
Wow.
okay, let's first things first. Can you get this cleaned up and filled up and put fish in it? If you can't, empty it
Get
out.
it all. Yeah.
Like either or, I don't care.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
we get those messages,
Hmm.
and those are the obvious ones. The
Yeah.
energetic ones aren't so obvious,
Yeah.
except that we know how we feel there.
It's so interesting. I love feng shui so much because I literally, I cannot. It's like trying to separate out your life and your mindset. Like it, like I cannot see someone and how they live their life, or I can't work with someone without kind of talking about their space, because their space is like a constant message to their
Absolutely.
brain, right? Like it's like, I don't know, a straight line to the subconscious.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And over the years, I've come to understand my understanding that it's reminding us of what we want.
Hmm. Yeah.
And people can do this on their own and set up their house in a way that tells the story of who they are and what they want. But
Yeah.
there's something about working with someone doing that and knowing the rules, so to speak,
Yeah.
that makes it even more intentional. And it's easy. I don't think this is true for everyone, but for like me, when I know why that's there, it seems like it impacts me more. And
Mhm.
Paul and I have been, we're pulling our weeds every day. Yesterday we were trimming trees, and I'd had a long day and I didn't get home until almost 7. And then we had dinner, which we never eat that late, but I mean, except when I work late. But we had dinner and I was exhausted. But I'm like, you know what? I haven't picked my weeds today. And so I go out there and start picking and then notice the trees. And so we start trimming.
Weeds do you have? Like
Girl.
I feel,
Well, let me tell you a funny story. I had said, fuck this noise. And I got some spray
yeah.
and I just go and I start spraying because I'm like, I can't keep up. Thank you, Jesus, for the rain. I appreciate it. However, the weeds are multiplying. And then we've got this tree that Paul got when he got cancer. And it's his Uncle Randy gave it to him. But in Uncle Randy's defense, he gave him a gift card. Paul picked out that tree. And it is a beautiful tree. It's grown tall in like 11 years. Like it's amazing. But let me tell you, it drops seeds and babies everywhere. I curse that tree, not the big one, but
Oh,
the little,
yeah.
because, and then they'll get big enough that they're hard to get out of the
Oh
ground.
no.
But anyway, so I go and I spray everything, and I'm like, I'm going to solve this problem right now. Huh.
Yeah.
Then it started raining. Yes, I should. And it rained for an entire week. It wasn't raining 24 hours a day. And
Right.
if you go out there when the soil is not so hard, some of them slip right out. And I like to get them by the root.
Yeah.
Very satisfying. But when we were out there, Paul was talking about doing some things in the backyard. And he's like, well, from a feng shui perspective. And I was like,
Yeah.
music to my heart, because he knows it too. I
Yeah.
mean, he knows it to be true. And luckily, he was certified and he did it with me. So we get it.
Yeah.
So in 1 week, I give my presentation to the Women's Connection Breakfast.
Love it.
I launch the book, Change Your Mind, Change Your Life, will be
Mhm.
ready like I would say in 2 weeks. I think because it has to be, I mean, it is done. I'm just editing and going through and cleaning everything up. My marketing guy is amazing because he's like, this is what I need. I need it now. Do what you can. I'm not pushing you, but if you want this done and you want all this together, I need you to do this. So I'll work as hard as you do. But it's interesting because it's almost like time has expanded for me to get all of these things accomplished. And I'm still out there in the yard doing yard stuff and
picking weeds
and trimming trees and seeing clients till 6:30 at night. Like it's all just like,
Now tell me this.
yeah.
Do you have, as you're editing and editing and editing, and you're self-editing, do you have this feeling of, I don't know, like it's not yet perfect? Because I feel as though if it were me, I would struggle editing my own stuff.
Now I send it to other people
Oh, do you? Okay.
and say, can you please read this? Tell me if you see anything that needs adjusting. And does the message resonate? Or
Right.
am I just off somewhere I shouldn't be? So, because like this book is 3 times I mean, it's still a tiny book, but it's like 3 times as long as the connection challenge. But I get so in the vortex when I'm reading it, like I can feel in my body, like it's just like, oh my gosh, yes, yes, yes. But two, part of the problem is that you read it like you wrote it.
Yeah.
So when I'm reading it, I have to be super careful. Now, luckily, there's spell check in there, and there's the Grammarly stuff that pops up like, okay, dumbass, you need this here and this here. Not that it says that, but
Yeah, yeah.
so that helps, but it's still, I want the message to be right. And so I want it to make sure what it says is actually what I think it says. Because how many times do we read our own work and read it like we wrote it, only to find it doesn't say that, or there are words in different orders, or
Well, and I find that if I've written something, once I hit send, then I see the spelling mistakes and
or
the things
text.
that I wish that I hadn't said, or wish I had said it in a different way. Or I look back and I think, shit, I could have said this differently, or
Yeah.
I could have given this example, or why didn't I say this? And it is only after I've hit send that I see it in that way, even though I have read it and read it and read it and read it and
Yes.
proofread it. But I think for me and many of my clients, I think before we hit publish on something or before we are ready to finalize something, it's like we want to hold back because what if there's one more thing that we could add a little bit later? Like, what if there's one more thing that would make it absolutely perfect? And so it's like, you don't want to hit publish sort of thing, because what if you want to add?
Well, and
I think that's how I would
what
feel.
my marketing guy has made very clear to me. Leigh, this can be your first edition, because really with the connection challenge, I was ready to go in and sort of expand. And he's like, do that later. The point is so quick that anyone can read this in a short amount of time and get the message and get inspired. If you want to go back and continue to add and continue to evolve it. There are second and third and fourth editions.
Hmm.
So this doesn't have to be the end of the book. And then I
Yeah.
went, oh,
That makes it so much easier.
yeah, because he's right.
Mhm.
And it might be enough. And it is enough for right now. I think it's a great intro and I will see. But I have 3 more books like lined up
Oh
behind
my
it.
gosh.
It's like I get this idea. I wrote a blog last week and it'll be my 5th book. I wrote a blog last week and I'm like, this is a fucking book. Like this applies to so much and anyone can understand this. And
Mm.
so I've got a folder with a blog going, okay, this is where you're going to start with this book. So I don't know what his like created this. Oh, write a book, write a book, write a book, but something. I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
Making my
Wow.
brain work in a different way.
Well, and I think the more we do that, the more we stretch ourselves, the younger we are.
I mean, I remember when my mom and her brother and sister put my grandma in a nursing home. I remember calling her after they moved her in. And I said, what are you doing, Gigi? And she said, I'm just sitting here waiting to die.
Mhm.
And I mean, she did. She sat in her bed. She had a great roommate named Betty, who was much younger, but kind of impaired, couldn't get around very well. She was diabetic and had some health issues, but she lived to be 95. And I just think that's a great long life. I'm not
Yeah.
diminishing. But what if she hadn't cut herself off from showing up in
Mhm.
life? And that really happened when she got married because she was that free spirit
Mm,
and she wore pants. Well, they didn't do that back then.
right.
And her parents sat her down and said, Helen, you're an old maid. She was 26 years old.
Wow.
If you do not get married now, no one will marry you. And so she married my grandpa. And like, I'm glad she did because I don't know that if I was here, I wouldn't be in this body. But it changed her. And then she got rid of the pants and pulled back out the skirts and got all buttoned up and became a little rule follower and diminished her fire. And
Wow.
I often think now, I never thought this growing up, but now that I know that she comes to visit and that she's watching and that she's here with me, that's why she loved me so much, is because she
Mhm.
saw my fire was the same fire she had, and she did not want to put it out. And do
Mhm.
you know who I see that fire in? Maria.
Oh.
I mean, I look at that girl and she's going to do what she's going to do, but not in a disrespectful way. Like she's sweet and loving like her mother, and her mother is that way too. So I can't really claim that that's from me, but
That's right.
I see it. I'm like, that's it. And I asked Mona one night, she did something. And I looked at Mona and I said, do you see who she is? And Mona just got the biggest smile and she was like, yeah. I
Oh,
thought, as long as you see it,
yeah.
I don't need to worry about her because Mona nurtured the hell out of that.
Cute.
But I think we're out of time.
We are.
This was good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And have a great week. And thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you next Thursday on the Happy Half Hour. Bye.
Bye.